Hello and welcome to Net That Haul. We're back for the Gameweek 27 Matchups show. We got Heung-min Son on the thumbnail, hopefully playing centre forward. We'll talk more about that later. And I'm, of course, FPL Nima, and I'm joined by my co-host Gabriel at FPLLens. How are you doing, buddy? It's good to see you here on this Thursday afternoon and just 2 days out, 2 nights out from the next deadline. We're almost there and we have chip strategies flying all across X and Twitter and all over the WhatsApps. Do let us know in the chat what your chip strategies are, guys.
We're gonna be dodging those. We're gonna be dodging.
We're gonna be dodging those,
like Neo in the Matrix. So, so if that's what you're here for, you've come to the right place. I'm doing great. It's a beautiful Thursday morning here in Phoenix, Arizona. Diving into the second cup of coffee as we get into the matchups, the philosophy. We got a bunch of haulers in the chat. Looking forward to. Let's see. Let's see where we're gonna go with this show. You know, and when it's you and I like steering the ship, as it were. Although you're getting better at it, man. You're like I think it's time for you to get promoted. We'll just think about that.
That'll be good. Yeah, we'll have to think about that. We're going to go really quickly into it this week. So we're going to go straight into the philosophy, and then we'll talk a little bit about kind of what we've learned about the blanks and doubles ahead before diving into just the matchups for the game week ahead. Remember, we'll do the Q&A at the end, so we'll be starring your questions as we go, and we'll timestamp it if you can't watch the whole thing. We'll do a few shout outs as well after the philosophy. Just say hi to everyone. I'll start putting your messages up on the screen and love to interact with you all. Thank you for supporting the channel. As always, we love all the haulers. So let's do the Game Week 27 Philosophy of the Week. 2 minutes in. This is a new record, I think, Gabe. And it's a Persian,
look,
man.
I mentioned promotion, and you step up your game, man. Yeah, you step it up in the big games. So the FPL Philosophy for Game Week 27 comes to us from one of your boys here, Nima, a Persian poet and philosopher. Rumi. He said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." I'm going to go straight to in general in life, what this basically means is where you've been hurt. That's where you have an opportunity to show compassion, and showing compassion to people is an expression of kind of like divine light, is in this sense. But for FPL, I'm going to go right to FPL Fran, who's in the chat here. He says, chip strategy is cry because my wildcard 26 ain't cooking. And that it hurts. Like my chip strategy is like in like a ninja blender, and it's all over the universe at this point, because and that hurts, right? Because that's supposed to be the fun part of FPL. You make these big decisions and you're like, yes, I'm going to do great against the field because I have all these ideas. And then it doesn't work out that way, and it hurts. But that's where the lessons are. That's where you're like, okay, well, like, where did I mess up? Where did I go wrong? What was variance? What could have been avoided? And so on and so forth. So just like detach yourself from the pain of the wound, and the light can enter you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just on that note, from an FPL point of view, how that's negatively impacted me, you're right. Because now I think about it, I was having a really bad start to the season for the first 10 weeks or so. It was worse than last year at the same time. And last year was my worst finish in 8 years. So I thought this is really bad. Then I suddenly end up like in the top 100K for the first time since the season before last. So things turn around by about game week 20 now. So the first chip strategy with the first wildcard, it seemed to work out. Now we get to here, right? In the last 5-6 weeks, I've been treading water. It's been gray arrows, small reds. I'm just stuck in this one place, right? And every single decision I've made has gone wrong. So every opportunity, like Fran's wildcard, like your chip strategy as well, Gabe, the wound is massive because I've opened myself to it. Like every transfer I made, the player I sold hauls, and the player I buy like doesn't play, or they play like half a game in a double game week. Or like last week, to give you the perfect scenario, I took a hit -4, right? I brought in Solanke and Huang. They're both blanked and they're both injured this week. It's just like that just compounds like everything that's been happening to me every week. So if you're in the chat and you've been suffering too, let us know. But I'm just like treading water, and I have to keep reminding myself that this is a game. I'm meant to enjoy it, and like I'm doing okay rank wise. Just stick to it. But yeah, it is pain. That wound comes in wide.
It is. It's so wide. So I tried to take on Saka by going triple Arsenal defense when you guys conceded every single game, and I was like, okay, that was a mistake. Bring Saka back, so bring Saka back in after he just absolutely ruins me. And there have been like whatever wounds like that will happen when you're playing FPL. That is the nature of the game. As BW Split says, I've got so much light entering me this week. Yeah, good for you. Bless you, I guess.
Quick couple shout outs, and then we'll go to the kind of the summary of the chips that are coming out these days. So we got BW Splitter, one of our YouTube members. Lovely to see him. Almost noon where they are. We got Craig here as well. Of course, good to see you, buddy. Another episode of Man on Pod recorded earlier as well by him. So looking forward to tucking into that. We have K7 afternoon, gents. Robin Popplewell afternoon, lads. Colin Boogler still smiling. Thank you, and thank you, Awobi. I love you guys. Thank you for what you did and your service. Elron Cupboard, Ahoy Shippers. We've got Claire FPL. Lovely to see you, FPL Fran. Hello, chefs. Sounds like we're all struggling in the kitchen right now. I don't know if you ever played Overcooked. It's a bit like that, and we're not delivering the food in time for anyone who gets that reference. Final few shout outs, and then we'll get into the show. So, Chris Richards, hey lads, good to see you live as well. General Zod, good to see you at their screen for once. Work from home Thursday. And we have Jared as well. Hey, haulers, not so much last week. Fair enough, guys. So that's everyone caught up. Get your questions in. We'll start off at the end of the show. We'll keep going. But just for the chip strategy section. So obviously the fixtures have now been confirmed for game week 29. There's only 4 matches. As we know, the matches are Aston Villa versus West Ham, Brentford versus Burnley. We have a Fulham versus Tottenham, Luton versus Forest. And that's it, I think, right? Tottenham, sorry, but Tottenham as well versus Fulham. So we already said that, I think. But yeah, either way, there's not many to go for there. I've got 3 players myself, I'm not going to lie. And 2 of them are Areola and Taylor. So I have Watkins with Areola and Taylor. Those are the only 3 players I have. So I've got to start thinking for real now. Do I free hit or do I take a massive hit and bring in like 3 Luton players in game 28 for their double and then they don't blank? And I want to ask you about that later because that's the narrative I've been seeing on the timeline. I think I could reduce all of the talk since the chip strategies have been announced to will you take -12 to buy triple Luton and field 9 players or will you free hit? And everyone's just arguing over which free hit has more upside, 34 or 29. Let us know what you're thinking in the chat, but unless you've used it, right? So then we've got your situation.
Unless you're me, I just used it.
And how many players do you have? Did you mention? Did you have similar number of players as me? Right,
3. If Pedro Porro is fit, then I'll have 3.
Your 3 are better than mine, though, right? I got like Taylor and Areola. You got like Porro. You
I have Porro, Dowdy, and Tony. So I think Tony and Watkins are probably like even out. I guess. I don't know, but it's 3 players.
Okay, so you're in a worse situation than me.
Yeah, I'm in the worst situation. I think 29 is kind of shit.
The fixtures that are there, you don't really like them.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be missing out on much. I'll take the red in 29. Whatever, I'll take any red.
I might join you. So I might, if it goes to plan, right? My idea would be that I would maybe take a -4 next week and then a -8 the week after. So it'd be like spread as a -12. And it will be like, it depends what I do. Because if I use a free hit, I could buy like lots of Bournemouth players because they should double again after 29 as well, but they blank in 29. And that's kind of my thinking right now. It's like, do I buy players that blank in 29 and lean into the free hit? So make use of it and let it change my transfer plans for the weeks before and after it? Or do I just go? Because like I want to buy Heung-min Son, right? He's the thumbnail of the week and he plays in 29. So immediately by buying him, I feel like now I've got 4 players that week. Should I use another free transfer and get 5, another free transfer, get to 6, then take a hit, get to 7, take 2 hits, get to 8? So part of me thinks maybe that's a better plan. So I'm interested to think that actually, how many players do you think you need then? That's my final question, and we'll move to game week 27. Like, I'm on free. I could have 4 if I buy Son. How many is your minimum if you got the main contenders?
I don't think there's a minimum. I think whatever. I think it just depends on your strategy. Like
to give you an idea,
the whole time.
So the free hit, I was going to say, the free hit predicted points for 29 that I've seen on like I think it was Draft Town. It's about 59 points. So like then you ask yourself, okay, like if I have 5-6 players, but they were the players to have that most people have, and then I miss out on a couple of crap defenders or something, What if I'm predicted 40 points, 45 points? I'll take that. I'll take
Hell
like
yeah,
that,
take that in a second.
right? Like if I can be 15 to 20
But
points
I
behind
think
the chip users in that week with less players, yeah, why not?
so. I think after we go through the matchups, I think we're gonna be more in the mood for hits.
I hope so, man. Because if there's matches to be targeting this week, then I can bring those hits forward and
That
try and
I
get them
know.
to pay off
That's what
over a
I'm
longer
saying.
spell. Cool.
Yeah,
So we'll go to Game
exactly.
Week
You can spread
27
the
in
hits
that
out.
case. We won't talk about 34 and 37 much. What I will say is obviously like we can't really do the matchups and the chips all in one pod. They'd probably have to be two separate ones. And we don't want to rebuild the wheel, right? So there's lots of great content out there. Like I was just listening to James's Planet FPL one, the chip strategy. Check that out if you want just a chip strategy special. Highly recommended. But I think we're just going to the matchups for this week. In terms of future doubles, I will say there's going to be a massive one in 37. It sounds like it could be anywhere from 10 to 12 teams. In 34, it sounds like it could only be 4 teams really doubling, maybe some blanking. Chelsea seem to be a team that will maybe double in 35 or 36. So there could be like a really small double where Chelsea are doubling in that. And that's just one to keep an eye out for, I suppose. So yeah, there's your thinking. So I've got, just all my chips left. So I'm going to have to make a decision now, I think. But maybe if I buy Sun, I could still free hit if I really want, right? So I just don't know what 34 and 37 look like yet. And one thing I want to say is the reason I don't want to spend too much time here is it's still all predicted. We only really know 29. So like when the semi-finals of the FA Cup happen, whoever gets through the quarterfinals will be not playing or blanking in the other future games or doubling. So in that mind, right now, just to give you the best perspective, and we'll move on, is I think Ben Crennan's spreadsheet here on the screen, it has Bournemouth doubling in 34. But like James's one, he thinks they're more likely to double in 37. So even that is still unknown. So I would take it with a pinch of salt and just attack this period till the next international break in March until blank 29, and we just go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the first game, Brentford versus Chelsea. I love these new graphics. Do you want to give a little shout out on those as well?
Yeah, so this comes to us from at Draft Alchemy on X. He's been doing some visualizations for us using event data. So we have what I love about this is so he's produced zonal expected threat conceded and zonal XG. He calls it difference. They're both matchups based. So one is kind of like in the buildup where the dangerous buildup occurs, and the other one is kind of where the dangerous shots occur. And then we have the chance creation with the zonal matchup. So what we can start doing is kind of like mapping threat to chance creation to shot, and in doing so, we can kind of like see maybe identify some patterns here. So just to illustrate for those in the on podcasts, and maybe if you can get to YouTube to check these out or to X, I'll post these sometime tonight. So or your early morning over there in the UK. Or go check out at FPLLens on X. So what we see here, like we'll start with Brentford. Well, I mean, Brentford, like Chelsea attack is like as far as the expected threat side, right? Chelsea's attack as far as the maps go is favored over Brentford. The expected threat side, you're looking at probably more chance creation or like build up from the left hand side. But it says like the chance creation for Chelsea against Brentford is going to come from the right hand side, and that's where the XG is going to come from. So if you think of like how it's basically all Cole Palmer for Chelsea these days, isn't it? Like even if that expected threat on that left hand side does light up like that, I would kind of favor like the two that match. So it's like the zonals with the XG. And that's one of the reasons why I held on to Cole Palmer. I think it's a great matchup for him. Getting him behind Reguilon is just like it's just fantastic. I bet he comes away with at least one return, potentially a haul here. How do you see it?
Yeah, so I currently don't think I have anyone in this game, and I do really wish I had Cole Palmer, to be honest. So I did sell him and all the blanks and stuff, but all those decisions went wrong, as we said in the philosophy section. So it's been a bad 5-6 game week. So forgetting that, I want to get a plan to get him back, right? Because if he could double in like a game week outside the main doubles, and he's going to blank again in 29, he's someone who like I could buy this week if I've committed to the 29 free hit strategy. So that's something I need to consider. Like I could do Huang to Palmer and just make that decision and go back and count my losses, right? So I really need to think about it because that is something I'm open to. And I really want to get him back. And I feel like I can hold him. Once I get him, I'll hold him till the end of the season. He's going to be like maybe my gross replacement as well. So I've got gross, I've got Huang, I've got that spot someone can go, and I envy you. I feel like you're one move ahead of me by already having him. So fair play to you.
Well, in a way, and about 5 moves behind you because you have your free hit. Like
I guess.
because I think what if you have a free hit, you need to look at it as like that the impact of that free hit on your transfers now. You don't have to force players in. You don't have to even think about looting any players. You can just do your thing, get the players you want to get, plan long term for 34 and 37 and all of that, and just not worry about a game week that's probably not worth worrying about. And
Yeah,
you're
it's
safe
a very low
with the free
ceiling.
hit,
Yeah.
then it just seems like the path of least resistance, seems like less stress. It seems like the super chill way to go.
I feel like for someone like me and you who's got free players, I think if you had yours, you would use it, right? If you had free players now, 2 weeks away.
Yeah, and I don't regret using it last game week. I think I ended up with, I don't know, 60 high 60s. So I was pretty happy with that, and I knew my team was a mess for last game week. But if I wouldn't have used it last game week, I'd probably use it for this one, so I'd have more time to plan and be taking less hits. But then again, then my wild card would have looked different as well. That's why it's not pointless, but it's so like time consuming to talk about individual situations because of the ripple effect that goes back. Like my wild card would have been different if I was planning to free hit in 29 instead of 26.
Yeah, that makes sense because you planned towards that exactly. So you would have then had to free hit once you got there. I think
Right.
we'll talk about these players in the Q&A. So in the interest of kind of just making up for some of the time from the beginning when I said we won't talk about chip strategy, but then we did. So we'll keep going from there. But
I also love Tony. I think
yeah,
Tony will
yeah.
get something. Tony at home, like never bet against Tony at home.
So he's another one that, like, if I was gonna not use a free hit, maybe he could come in this week for, that's someone I could consider as well. But I need to really figure out what I'm gonna do. It's Thursday now, the deadline Saturday, and my transfer will be dictated by it.
Well, and what one thing about the forwards, just forwards in general, is you have to
Yeah.
kind of like decide which way you're gonna go. Like, are you gonna go? Are you gonna go Tony Watkins Holland? Are you gonna not go Holland at all? Are you gonna not go Tony? Are you gonna not go Watkins? Are you gonna get Semenyo now if Solanke's out? Like 4.5.
That
I
would be
liked
nice,
him
right?
and I liked him in these 3 fixtures anyway, so I might like him even more. Like he's a consideration for me, like going Darwin to Semenyo. So we'll get to that matchup though. We'll talk more about him later.
Definitely. There's another one that is an interesting one. Like obviously, with if Chan is out as well, he Chan, then maybe something like a Bowen move is going to be quite popular. I think as the deadline comes closer, you'll see the Bowen transfers in start to really pick up as Huang is selling. But is there anything here that you would say benefits Bowen from a matchup point of view? Is this something I could be looking at, like say like Palmer versus Bowen this week? It feels like Bowen should have more fun, but equally Everton are at home. In this actual NetxG for the podcast listeners, they've got a 1.83 and West Ham only have 1.09. So from a data point of view, it doesn't really seem to favor, West Ham at all.
So there's one thing in our whole slide here that favors West Ham, and it's
Mhm.
the XG from on that right zone for Bowen, right? So
Mm.
that's
The
that
only
area
thing. Wow.
that's that
That's
area
crazy.
behind me. Yeah, well that's the area behind Mikolenko, right? And Dwight McNeil like maybe doesn't provide as much defensive cover. So that shows up, but everything else lights up for Everton, right? Look at, speaking of McNeil, look at chance creation from Everton's left. 4.8 is massive. Yeah, Aiden saved my free hit team as well, Peter. we were DMing during, we were commiserating, like crying on each other's shoulders, wiping our snot on each other's sleeves, and then Aiden came and saved the day for us. But yeah, if you look at Everton, that 4.8 chance creation on the left-hand side for Everton is massive. Like that's really high. So if looking at like, and then you pair that with kind of the expected threat conceded also on that left-hand side, and then the left and central zones for Everton for finishing as well. So Everton are really going to focus kind of, I guess, attacking Sofal, attacking that right hand side, West Ham's right hand side. But I think West Ham's data is it's old now that Paqueta is back. Everybody's getting healthy.
Yeah.
They had several moments in their, who'd they play? Who was their last game? Is it Brentford? It was Brentford, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And
Yeah, they
they
had several moments in that Brentford game where they showed like passing structure and passing patterns, like a penetrating ball through the middle,
mm,
one touch pass backwards, and then another ball wide and stuff like that. These zigzag passes where they showed that they're going to be inconsistent. West Ham will be inconsistent, and Bowen will probably return in ways and in games that you least expect. So Bowen is like one of those guys. You just, if you have him, you just play him, and you know that if West Ham gets something, if they click, then Bowen will get something, and if they don't click, then that'll be about half the time. Then he won't. I think
and Paqueta's return will hopefully favour them more as well going forwards. Obviously, I think
massively.
prior to that they hadn't won a game in 2024, so it was definitely a long time coming. Just a couple comments here. So we have General Zod saying Mikalenko as well.
No, I just saw Combs
Oh, well, Muniz
comment.
says hi.
Moon is friggin' hauling now. I don't know how many weeks after I brought him in. I thought it was such a clever transfer. I was so excited when Jimenez went down and he did nothing for me. Well,
For weeks.
I guess I was right.
I guess so. I'm trying to think in terms of kind of fodder. Like I have like Lamptey and Taylor right now on my bench, and I do feel that if I was going to be looking for kind of defensive assets to move them onto in the future after Game Week 29, I still feel across the season I've not owned Bramthwaite, and he just seems to play every week. And Everton have been a decent defense. Like Pickford, since I sold him, is like the highest scoring goalkeeper in the game. It's like he only started returning the week he left my team on Mark on. Since then, every week I feel like separate to my own FPL team, I'm waiting for Everton to concede. I'm sorry, guys, in the chat to our Evertonians, but it's because I just feel like every time Pickford gets a clean sheet, it's like it spites me more that I had him and I believed in him, and then 10 weeks later, that's when he did it. But yeah, so I think Bramthwaite is someone I'm looking at going into actually because I feel like he could see me through to the end of the season as well. He's a player I
What
really
about
like.
Mikolenko himself,
I
as
think in
Zod
other
pointed out?
formats. So like when you like, I think in places like Sky, he gets a lot of points for other actions that are more perhaps like
Hmm.
defensive, things like tackles, even passing tiers, for example, if he manages to hit 60 passes in a game. But it's like you don't get those things in FPL. So for me, it's just I don't really want to pay that extra. So yeah, General Zod for the podcast listeners also adds that their run is littered with home games. So that is something to bear in mind, and perhaps that's where the good data is coming from for the NetxG, kind of predicting a 2-1, I suppose, for Everton here. So it does really fancy them, and it feels like it's Bowen or bust for West Ham. I think we'd probably agree to move on and go to the third matchup. So Fulham versus Brighton, as if by magic.
Hmm.
This doesn't look great to me as a triple Brighton owner with a net XG of 1.08 for Brighton and 1.69 for Fulham. Damn. Yeah,
It's
that does
true.
not look great at all.
Um, Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Combs says in the chat. What I see here is kind of like Brighton's left creating for its right. So Brighton has a green left zonal chance creation of 3.9 compared to 3.2 and 3.1 for center and right. And then we look at the expected threat conceded, and it's going to be like highlighted on Brighton's right side. And then also the XG difference is a bright red on Brighton's right attacking Fulham. Again, Fulham's left is popping a little better than the rest. I think that the return of Iwobi though makes Fulham, especially at home, Fulham are difficult to beat at home. And if you look at the stats, I think like anyone that goes to Fulham, their stats look a little depressed typically. So that's why everything looks so low for Brighton here. I can pull up some of the raw data here, but I don't know. I think Brighton with the losses they've had, and I think Matoma's out for the season. Is it?
It's looking like it, yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be investing. That these aren't teams that I would be looking at. Despite I think Brighton still have maybe a couple of decent fixtures. I own a Stupinian. I'm an enraged Stupinian owner, and he's first on the chopping block for me. He's definitely got to go. I just have to figure out which way I'm going to go with him.
So the thing is, I don't want to obviously do it again because my blood pressure will probably go. But on the juice show earlier this week, they put my team up on the screen, and I'd benched Lamptey, and he obviously got a clean sheet and subbed off before they wiped, and then Estupinian in my 11. And I was livid. I went off on this rant. I'll send you the clip from the juice show. Yeah, I don't want to repeat it here. I'm sorry, BW Splitter. They were there watching, and it was just an epic rant. But it was basically every week the one I picked to play, it just never worked out for me. I'm just so pissed at both of them. And it's like every time I make a quick decision based on certain info, it's like, oh yeah, Stupidan's definitely going to play this week. And then every week they're both playing like a half each, generally. So I've got like one complete player between two players, and I was raging, but I'm far more collected 2 days later. I'm much calmer and I've accepted
You're
defeat.
you're spending over 9 million on one Brighton defender.
Exactly. And normally when the clean sheet comes, or like when Lamptey's assist game with the 5 points, that's when they're not actually in my team, they're on my bench. And the one time I made the right decision, I started Lamptey, he got 2 points, and Estupinian got 0, even though he came on. So I made a 2 point gain once, and every other time I've got the decision wrong. But yeah, it was a crazy rant though. That's for sure. What do you feel about Fulham assets? Obviously, they also play in 29. Is this something that we could go into? I know you were talking about Muniz and stuff. So is there anyone that you would want to target? Like if Williams back and fit, could he be an interesting shout? I think Andy Martin, one of our haulers, he's obviously been on the Willian train for a while, and he's talking about all the points Willian's going to get in 29. So what are your thoughts on the
Well,
Willian pick?
I think there's just too much competition for midfield spots. So Willian just doesn't make that cut. So Colm says that Tosin and Bassi are a huge upgrade on Diop and Ream, more pace from the former. So just based on that, if I were going Fulham, maybe a defender, maybe a defender is a sneaky play, or Anthony Robinson, for example, who will still bomb into that left half space and get some attacking returns on occasion. So that might be a sneaky way to go if I guess if that partnership continues to thrive the way it has.
Yeah. And then just on Pascal Gross, because obviously he seems to just be flying these days, like, getting assisted the death, max bonus instant. It's like, and I know because of the other games I play, like even in other draft formats and other games, like he gets so many points. Like even if he doesn't get any return, it's like I'm talking like 25, 30
Mhm.
points in some of these formats I play, he'll get with like no returns. So when he does get a return in FPL, and all those things that he's getting points for in every other format get added up to the PPS scoring, he's just always there. It's like unbelievable. Like it's just, I'm so glad I still have him, but I did bench quite a few of the hauls. I'm not gonna lie. So now I've got him. Do you think he's someone that I just use him for these two fixtures, so like Fulham, and then he's got Forest in the next game, and then I move him on because there's a blank, there's then Liverpool away. Is it that this is like a goodbye farewell thing for him, or do you feel he's a sustainable pick, like holding long term?
That's a good question. I mean, I like the thing with growths is a goal is worth 7 and an assist is worth 5. Right? And then he gets clean sheets on top of that. It's probably worth like 2, not 1. Friggin' Gross is like
Whatever
he
point he gets is worth
squeezes
more.
every he just like he blows it up. It's like he's like mother nature of points. Um, but and here's the thing that's it's probably going to be mostly Gross. There's no
Whatever
Matoma.
Brighton do, yeah, with all
I
these
I think
injuries.
I I think it'll be more Gross centric. So I don't know. I think it kind of is sustainable, and I can understand why people would be selling for Son, for example, and be making moves like that. So, but I do think that this Gross event is sustainable.
Nice. That's glad. I'm glad to hear that. So I just needed to know for sure that he's still viable for the foreseeable future. All right, we'll go to the next game, Newcastle versus Wolves. I saw Dubravka was back from his illness. He started in the cup. He saved. I was watching the penalty shootout as well. He saved the last penalty to make sure Newcastle go through to the quarters in blank in 29. As a Dubravka owner, I'm glad to see him back. Hopefully, he will have a good run at the end of the season if all goes well. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, the NetxG for this game is very tight. So Newcastle are 1.88 and Wolves are 1.77. I do think with the news that Hwang will pretty much, it sounds like he's like definitively ruled out almost of this weekend already. With him out, I don't think the data would favor Wolves as much. I know there's Sarabia, there's Neto, there's still options to get the points for Wolves, but they've just played the cup game. Hopefully both teams are tired. Newcastle being at home with the home crowd, Wolves traveling. I just feel like it's a 1-0 win to Newcastle here, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
1-0 win to Newcastle. No, I see goals.
You're
I
just going to be
definitely
a
see
goal
goals.
fest.
Yeah. I see several goals in this. I think the data kind of hints at that as well. Newcastle, I mean, no surprise in the maps there. The XT favors the right, the chances created favors the center and right, and then the XG map heavily favors the center. I don't think I've seen that deep shade of red in Draft Alchemy's maps here. At Draft Alchemy is a hauler, by the way. He's part of the Discord. So do say hi if you see him in there, and thank him for these. Like he just says, "Don't be so sanctimonious." Yeah, you got to keep gross, man. I think you keep gross and you free hit. Just make your life easy, man. Don't stress. But in this game, I mean, who's going to be playing down the middle for Newcastle? Is Isak back?
He's looking closer to being back. He's always yellow flagged in every draft team I have him in. I never really know his status. I've given up trying to know, but yeah, I think Gordon could still persist through the middle, obviously, if he's not back. And I know that your friend Harvey Barnes is around these days as well. So I just think with Newcastle, I'm sure they're going to get something from this. I don't know if it's just like because I know I've had difficulties there. And obviously, I also feel like after what's happened with the Arsenal game, it's quite an embarrassing defeat for them the way they played. And ultimately, they got their cup victory, an emotional penalty shootout. And then now here we are back at home to the home crowd, and just they're going to use them as a 12th man to push through. I think, yeah, I'm not convinced. I feel like I made a bad choice with Wolves. I was too carried away with the Sheffield United fixture. I regret that move so massively, and Brighton pissed me off as well because obviously they couldn't beat Wolves in the cup, so that at least like Wolves would play in 29 or something. But it's like I buy Hwang, he gets injured in the cup game that keeps him in, and then therefore he's now not going to play in 29. And he would have been, knowing my luck, he'd be injured in 29 still by the time we got there, even if he had a game. It's just like this season, man. Everything that can go wrong goes wrong. You just have to laugh, honestly. You can't take it too serious.
But I don't know. I feel like we say that every season. This season is different. It's the same every season. Everyone just suffers all the time. That's what FPL is.
So that's why we like it. We're gluttons for
exactly. That's it. Exactly. We commiserate together. So just back to this. I mean, I think Gordon down the middle is fantastic. I think Harvey Barnes will have a coming up party at some point, and it could be here against Nelson Semedo. I wouldn't put it past him. And then from Wolves' side, I just think that they're gonna try to be like tactically sound, right? And play in a little bit of a shell away, knowing that Newcastle will come at them and that their center mids are dangerous. So it'll be kind of like the battle of the wingers and wingbacks, I think, in this one. And the middle zone will be kind of like just very the middle zone in the center of the field, not up high in the middle. The middle zone, the middle zone up high, I think that's where the goals will come from. But in the middle, in the center of the field, it'll be just chaos. So I think that'll just kind of blow this game apart. It'll open up.
Yeah, no, it feels like that kind of game. I don't have any assets apart from Dubravka. He's currently my goalkeeper as well, ahead of Areola, who's away at Everton, obviously. So I do wonder if that will change. But you've not filled me with confidence.
I have Gordon. I'm happy to play him. I think he'll do well.
The attacking side, I would be more keen on. Yeah, definitely, for sure. Let's keep going. We'll keep going with the matchups. Forest versus Liverpool. I don't know about you, but I think a lot of us sold a lot of the Liverpool players already when they blanked. But for those who held on and have one that's fit, because I also don't know who's fit. No one even made the bench in the FA Cup. So for those that are there, you would think on paper this is a great tie. But I'm hoping you can tell me how Forest might stop the league leaders and slow them down a bit. Because right now, the data points out that Liverpool's going to continue doing what they've been doing, despite all the lack of personnel recently. It's got 1.75 NetxG, and Forest only have 1.11.
Mm-hmm. And we see the maps. The XT conceded is bright red on Forest side, bright blue. So it's safe area
The
for
whole half
Liverpool,
of the
and the
pitch.
XG and the XG as well. Although it favors the right side for Liverpool a little bit more because of Diogo Jota, who's obviously injured. He won't be playing here. But I guess I don't know the fitness of several players. I mean, will Salah be back? Do you think? I don't
He
know.
wasn't on the bench either, yeah. Like, I think for
So
me,
probably
right,
not. Is
I
Darwin
really
back?
want him. Darwin, I haven't seen around either. He didn't make. I don't think he made that squad either. So
I
it's
haven't seen him around.
who's around? Like Trent's out as well. I've got Bradley, and I'm starting him, for example, right? So I'm like, okay, like I'll give Bradley. Hopefully he'll play. He didn't start either. I think it was Simicast and Gomez in the cup yesterday. So yeah, I'm hoping that was just a rest for him, like with everyone else who's fit because so many injuries. But yeah, if I heard Salah was fit, he's the guy I want this week. So I'm gonna be honest with you. If I had definitive info that Salah was gonna start, I'd even consider captaining him, despite the data not looking so great, because I think there's data without him at Liverpool through the kind of cup and through the injury. So, with him back, I think that's going to be monumental for them, like we saw in
I
that
mean,
half the game he played.
yeah, I mean, you put Salah in like a U16 team, and who do you think is going to get all the goals?
Not going to be the other guys, that's for sure.
It's not right. It's just going to be all
Everyone's going to be
Salah.
passing to
So
this one guy who they've been watching through the academy as they grow up for like the last 5, 6 years.
it's going to be like a talisman, but juiced up with like everything goes to him. So yeah, if Salah, if they say Salah starts, I do think he's a really exciting captaincy shout in
Now,
this
obviously,
game.
he has
But
City in game week 28, and then he blanks. So this would be one I could only do if I commit to the free hit strategy, and that's what I
right.
really want. I want to know Salah's fit. Don't buy Son, and just go straight in, completely balls deep, and get Salah, someone who no one else will buy. Because if they're going chipless, they won't be buying him. That's for sure. So I just really need him to be fit.
Maddie's right. I feel Maddie win a lot. He
Oh, he
said Bradley
started the
did
right
start, and
wing.
he got moved up to the right wing when
That's why I didn't see him. Yeah, when I looked at originally at the lineup, there he wasn't in the
yeah,
back four. Oh,
yeah.
that's hilarious. Cool. All right. So I think with this game, we'll talk more about these assets. But right now, the question is who's fit. And I think without a presser, it's hard to really know. I think if you had Van Dijk, he obviously ended up being the winner of the Liverpool players in that double game week for anyone who went that way. And I think I'd still want him this week. And beyond that, I'd probably sell him personally to go and get like maybe a Bournemouth player who doubles in 28 or getting a Luton defender if you're not going to free hit so that they get their double and then they don't blank. So I feel like you can kind of free some money up there as you prepare to the blank, depending on what your chip strategy is either way. But let's go to the next game because we will talk
So
more about these
I have Darwin. What do you recommend someone does with
with a
Darwin?
Darwin. So I think because he's not made the bench yet, I would be pretty happy to move him on to like a Solanke, but then Solanke's flagged. So it's like with Solanke's Burnley fixture, had he not had that flag, it would feel like a no-brainer for me. Or even like say you could go for a Tony now if you definitely want him for the blank, and then maybe you
I
move
have
someone
Tony
else to
already.
Solanke. Yeah, so you already have him. So for you, it would only be really Solanke. I feel like I would be happy to go to maybe a Luton forward if you're not gonna. Obviously, you don't have a free hit, so maybe Carlton Morris for the double in 28, doesn't blank in 29.
What
There's
about
some
Semenyo?
options. So Semenyo feels quite exciting, but then he again blanks. So it's like if you've only got 3 players now, you'll gain a double
I
through that,
just
but then you lose a fixture.
I
It's
have to
so
go to
tough.
Watkins. I think I'm
I think
forced
you
to
have to
go
go
to
to
Watkins.
Watkins. He's become inevitable for you now after avoiding him for
Yep.
so long. All right, we'll keep
So
going.
he
But
says start
start
Darwin.
Darwin. I think if you've got a bench, that's fair. But like right now, I feel like I've got no Darwin. Obviously, I sold him last week for Solanke, but he's now
Mhm.
gone. So yeah, I think I'm so gutted about all those transfers. Solanke outscored Darwin in that period as well. And then when I brought him back, he just gets injured straight away. This is the game I'm most excited by. Tottenham versus Crystal Palace. It's a 2.41 net XG for Spurs, and it's only 1.17 for Crystal Palace. There was talk of maybe Eze being back. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I just don't see a world in which Palace are going to do much here. So, London derby, maybe there can be some controversy, but it seems like a comfortable win. Now, Porro, as you mentioned, who you have, Pedro Porro, he
Nice.
he's almost back. So he might not make it this week, but he sounds almost back. Obviously, he's got the fixture in 29. Udogi sounded closer. Richarlison, it seems uncertain. We've got to wait for the press. I don't know what's going on. People say he's there or he's not there in training. So that's a bit of a strange one, but he seems okay. Maybe it's just guesswork. So ultimately, Son, if he's going to be playing striker as well in this game, I almost feel like this is quite exciting. So if I wasn't going to say free hit, this is like a direction I could go in from now, like just buy Son. Like I can do Huang straight to Son. So this is if I don't go for Salah. I feel like that's become my free transfer this week. Son or Salah, one of the two. And if Salah's not fit, I feel like I'm then forced to get Son, even if I then still end up free hitting 29, which is quite annoying. But what can you do, right? There's only a few premium assets left in the game who are fit. Who do you have in this? Do you have a Richarlison? Or I know you've been quite hot on Madison. So is he someone you'd be looking at for transferring in this week? Say you can't afford Son.
I don't have anyone in I mean, so with Porro out, I don't have anybody in this fixture. So but I think this. So I think Son has been this season. Son has been less effective on the left, right, without having somebody like Kane kind of really stretching the line for him. But in this fixture in particular, I think you want Son on. If Son is playing on the left hand side, look how bright the expected threat conceded is on Crystal Palace's right, and it lines up with the XG difference as well. So that threat being created, and then the Spurs, both the flanks kind of light up equally in terms of chance creation, but a lot of that action is going to be kind of centered because Joel Ward, I think, is playing right center back now. I mean, the closer Joel Ward is to his own box, the worse it's going to be for Palace. So I just want to check, just make sure. Yeah, he played right center back. Daniel Munoz played in front of him on as a right wing back in their 3-4-2-1 system. So Palace is a team that's adapting. They're changing to a new manager, new style. They are more aggressive, and I think, but I don't think they will be too aggressive in this one. I think that kind of aggression towards the ball in the counter press will kind of come to fruition in time. But I think Tottenham are just it's by far the highest NetxG of the game week. I think Tottenham attackers are good targets this game week, especially Son if he's on that left. If Son is on that left, it's really tempting to go right away.
Yeah, I think for me, that's basically going to have to be what I do because Salah, just not being in the squad yet, I just feel like I can't go there. And I don't want to necessarily completely commit to the free hit 29 strategy. So it feels like that's the most viable move for me. And based on this matchup and what you've said, I feel like I have to go there. Whether Richarlison is fit or not, either way, I feel like I just want a piece of him and I can then figure out what to do. Because I feel like in 29, Son will be like one of the core picks of that game week, whether you're on free hit or not. So it kind of feels like all roads are leading to him now. And I just hope it's the one that was playing at number 9 earlier this season and it was seemingly performing a lot more in terms of goal output. I know historically, though, he's done fine on the wing. So seems like it was just a this season thing that it wasn't as good as his upfront stint, but therefore it's quite a small sample size. And I think I would tend to look at his performance over time rather than kind of panicking and feeling that if he's on the left, it's not a good pick. I feel like I'm just going to buy him regardless. And the defenders, I think, knowing that they're not potentially back yet, I think I can't really be recommending buying them yet. But again, they seem like picks that are going to be very popular. It's almost like triple Villa or triple Spurs. That's going to be a core part of Game Week 29 teams. plus maybe some Luton players for people who don't free hit. There might be Brentford players. There might be Tony. Like, there isn't many other picks beyond that. There might be like someone I've not been seeing on any of these free hits is like Taiwo Awanoyi, and like he could be quite exciting as well. So yeah. Just one last thing before we go to Luton Villa. I just want to pull up Stewie's comment. He says Palace could be in the midst of a new manager bounce. So that would be quite interesting as well if something like that was to happen. But speaking of Ollie Watkins, we have Luton versus Aston Villa as the next matchup. Aston Villa 1.74 NetxG for Luton 1.6. How do you see this game going? Because it seems to be that Luton at home, they score a good few goals. In general, they've been quite exciting to watch this season. They, out of all the teams that have been fighting the relegation battle, like I just feel like they're a fun team to watch. Is this like going to be a game where there could be an upset? Like, do you think that's possible? Could Villa come out here with a loss?
I mean, yeah, I think that's possible. I don't know if it's lightly, but it's definitely possible. Luton at home are a tricky side to play against because they rely so much on aggression, and that aggression is fueled almost by that kind of tight stadium and all of that. So they make things very difficult. And Aston Villa away, while they've been better, I guess in recent weeks than they were the first 15 game weeks of the season or something like that. They're still not the same away as they are at home. So those two factors combined, I think, could lead to some kind of upset here. But and everything seems kind of like, it seems like there will be goals, but if it falls one way or another, it's kind of hard to tell. The expected threat conceded is, it's light red on Luton's side, so favoring Aston Villa, and then it's bright red for the XG on Luton's central and right zone. So looking at Ollie Watkins and maybe Moreno in this one. Moreno could even come up with a goal. He's been parked around the box on occasion. So but yeah, I don't know. That kind of the XG, that deep red XG, just kind of solidifies. Just do the obvious move, Darwin to Watkins for a hit. If Darwin is a doubt, if Darwin's not a doubt, I'll play Darwin. But yeah, Watkins with the upcoming fixtures, and for game week 29, I think you have to have, like, if you're not free hit in game week 29, you go for like the linchpins of the game week. So you go Watkins, right? You go Son.
You almost have to have them, yeah.
Yeah,
if you're gonna only have 7 or 8 players, those are the ones you want, right? That's if you're not gonna get the 9th, 10th, 11th player that week that free hitters have, let them have their Regulions and Doughties and a couple of cheap defenders or something like that. But the key players, if you don't have them, I think that's going to be a horrible week if you don't free hit and you don't have those players.
Even if you're rolling with 6 or 7 players for that game week, as long as you have about like those 4 key ones, which I guess who would they be? Watkins and Son for sure.
I think Tony as well. I think he'd be on a free hit as well.
Watkins, Son, Tony.
Maybe like
maybe,
I guess there was
maybe a Spurs defender.
Spurs. Yeah, so maybe like Maddison. I think it would be like Maddison, Son, and one of the defenders, or Maddison, Son, and Richarlison if all 3 are fit. Like, it could be quite a nuts, aggressive.
I don't know so much about triple Spurs being linchpins. As far as just like those guys that could be close to 100% owned. I don't think Maddison will be there. I think those will be more periphery players. But Watkins, back to this slide here, Watkins will definitely be one of those. And I mean, if you don't own him, which is a minority at this point, like me, I guess this is a good week to go in.
What are your thoughts on, I guess, the kind of debate about Leon Bailey, if you were going to go for an Aston Villa mid now instead of someone like Douglas Luiz? Is that something you've considered? I feel like Bailey does seem more exciting, obviously less minutes and no penalties, but he just seems to be really good right now for Villa. And I hope Villa stay in form, because a strong Villa will be good for the last kind of third of the season. And they still face all of Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City. So I need a strong Villa going into the end of the season to make sure that they're taking points from people.
I feel like Bailey, Douglas Luiz conversation is similar to the Neto Juan conversation, except for a better team. It's tough to choose between them, because so we thought, and Craig mentioned it as well, that Luis should be like held back right? And be more like kind of like act as a lone six with after the loss of Boubacar Kamara, but and he was also went forward. So I think we have yet to see how that's going to play out. But one thing Luton is vulnerable to is Luton is vulnerable to players who travel between the lines, who move between the lines, and that's epitomizes Douglas Luiz. So I bet Douglas Luiz has a really good game in this one. And if I'm maybe considering bringing one of those in. I honestly don't know which one to go for, and I would maybe lean Douglas Luiz because of this matchup and because of pens and corner
Yeah.
kicks, like set pieces and all of this. So he's
many
like
ways to get points. Yeah, and he's just on the pitch for longer, right?
but Bailey's form is just phenomenal. Bailey's form is so good, and yeah, the minutes, right? The 90 minutes for
It's like
Douglas
nearly,
Luiz.
yeah, it's just non-stop, like guaranteed to be there against
Yeah.
tired legs. Hopefully he can work with new runners on the pitch to get counter-attacking goals as well. I know he doesn't get in the box so often, but we were all worried he'd be playing like as a number 6, like fully deep with the Kamara injury, and it still feels like McGinn and him kind of are alternating who runs ahead. So he's still getting some chances to go ahead and be in the right
Mhm.
place to take these chances running and crashing into the box. And I think a lot of us, like for me, I was going to buy him before I bought Huang. And I just panicked because I was like, oh, I don't want to buy these, players. I want to wait until we know about the cup games if there's any upsets. I wanted the upside of Huang. It was a massive mistake. That's gone as badly as it could. But I didn't get Villa because I thought, why should I buy them just because they're playing 29? And I don't want to miss a haul right now in front of me in game week 26. So what ended up happening
Mm.
is I still missed the haul and I don't have the player for 29. Whereas I thought I was buying the haul now and accepting a blank in the future. So it's gone as badly as it could. And I think I've doubted Villa as a pick, not Villa, sorry, Douglas Luiz as a pick most of the season with that same narrative that he's playing as a defensive midfielder in my mind. But I think I need to get rid of that bias and really open my eyes to him, because if I'm not going to free hit, he's going to be a staple pick in my team. And for me as well, I think I agree. I still prefer him to Bailey because I'm more of a minutes man. I think I'm a socks on. I wear my socks when I play FPL. I know some players are a bit more maverick.
What does
Some
that
people
mean?
some people take their socks off in it when they depends if you're a socks on kind of guy, you're kind of prim and proper, like you do everything by the book. You wear socks and do missionary. Whereas if you're like more of a socks off kind of guy, you might be doing
Mm.
all kinds of wild stuff under the sheets. So yeah, it just depends. In FPL, do you play with your socks on or your socks off? I think like socks on is template FC, and socks off is like full on like chaos.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will not climb into bed with my socks on. That is insane to me.
You're not a socks on kind
Can't
of guy.
believe
Okay.
I'm not. No, and no, and if you're wearing like if you have socks on, you better have some pants on because socks on with anyway. Get back to
Yeah,
to
so
here.
Burnley versus Bournemouth.
Well, I want to put Claire. Claire mentioned something. Lee seems to score in home games, not in away games. All of his goals, he hasn't scored in every home game, but all of his goals this season have been in home games. And I think there are some home games where he didn't score, but he got maybe bonus points and assists and stuff like that. So yeah, he is kind of money at home. So if you looking for a kind of rotation, or if you're unsure if to start Douglas Luiz, you can rely on that home away thing a little bit. But again, I can't really explain why that would be the case. I haven't seen anything reflected in the differently in the home tactics versus away tactics that would make that the case.
I think just to clarify to you, Matty, I don't actually wear my socks in bed, but it's about whether you in life, if you uh, act with socks on or socks off. So have a think about that. Have a think about that. But socks on are just like they do everything by the book, template FC, and yeah, socks off are like they
Or
just
maybe it's
kind of
just cold, so
live
you
their
leave your
own way.
socks on. And then if it's warm, you take your socks off. I mean, it's that simple.
It could be. It could be. In this fixture, I'm benching Charlie Taylor. I can't play him. I just can't do it. I was already gutted. I played him last week over Lamptey. So he plays in 29. That's the only reason he's not been out on my team. But for me, I've got Solanke, and I'm not sure if he's going to be back. Like they said, he had a knee problem, and hopefully he's had like an MRI, I guess, and it's been ruled out as totally fine, and it's just a knock or a impact injury. But he did seem to be struggling against Man City at the end there, and he wasn't in the matchday squad for the FA Cup, so it is a bit of a concern there. Yeah, it's a bit of a concern there about him. I thought, oh yeah,
Well,
great. If Solanke doesn't play, I have Hwang on the bench. Now I'm looking at both of them flagged, and I'm like, maybe I should be getting Son in, and like, yeah. But then if I get Son, that means I have to bench Gross or Solanke. So again, like if Solanke's fit, do I really want to buy Son this week? I guess I do, and I have to just haul a bench another Gross hole every week.
so
Gross falls, and every week I bench him.
but on Solanke, if he had an MRI, it's because they feared something, right? They feared something was torn.
I
And that
assumed
and that
he
what
had an MRI, as in I hope he did, because that would at least reach a conclusion quicker. He wouldn't be waiting as long
but
as a
we don't
normal
know.
civilian, but we don't know anything about it yet. So I
Does
guess
anybody
tomorrow,
know what's happened with Solanke? What kind of tests he's had or he hasn't
yeah,
had?
let us know in the
But
chat, please, if you know. Yeah, they're saying
but I mean,
apparently the
a
same thing.
knee. If he had to go, so let's just say if he had to go for an MRI scan, it's because they feared something was torn, right? And then he does the MRI, and then the MRI reveals that nothing is torn. But that doesn't mean that like if they feared something was torn and nothing is torn, there's gonna be a recovery time. So it's not a tear, it's some grade of sprain. And
Yes,
every
so he
grade of
could be
sprain,
back in the
and
future, but not now.
I don't think he'll come back now. Every grade of sprain involves some kind of tearing, right? So
Yeah,
he needs to rest it, and if he doesn't rest it, then he risks tearing the thing. So
yeah.
my sense is if he went for an MRI, Solanke will be out for at least a couple of weeks, like 2 to 4 weeks at a minimum. So
Maybe missed a
and that's
double.
maybe miss the double. And then that's why I'm saying then you have a 4.5 million starting forward with 3 games in the
In the
best
next two.
fixtures you can imagine in the next 2
Burnley
game
in a
weeks.
double game. So if we had
So
news before Saturday that, let's say, Solanke was out for a month, in my shoes, would you just buy Semenyo if you're going to free hit anyway in 29? Just get that
I
doubler.
don't that's I like in maybe I'm even considering maybe buying Semenyo over Watkins.
Damn. Okay,
If
so you
like
really like that look of that Semenyo pick. Okay.
-8 Darwin to Semenyo and like Doku to Sun. That's what I would probably be looking at, something like that. I think if Solanke is confirmed out, and I mean, I don't know how to know because I'll probably be sleeping, but I think Semenyo is really interesting, and I wonder if I can take on. Well, yeah, I don't know. It just depends on your chip strategy after that, I guess.
Yeah, I think for me, if I was going to free hit and there was news that Solanke was definitely out for a while, I'd be pretty sure that I'd go there to Semenyo. You really sold me on that. It wasn't a pick I'd even considered before today, so I am going to be thinking about that more open-minded, waiting for info from the manager.
And if you look at the expected threat conceded map, it's on that right hand side where Semenyo. Well, when Solanke plays, obviously Semenyo's on the right hand side. Semenyo may play more centrally, but the fact that he can play both maybe favors him a little bit.
Yeah, I
So
think we
yeah, I don't know.
keep.
I think he's really interesting. 4.5 million.
Yeah, that is a bargain. Let's keep going because I think we want to get to the Q&A and try and get up here an hour and a half today if we can. So we'll keep it short and sweet. But this is the big game of the weekend, really, right? The Manchester derby. So we've got Man City 1.83 NetxG, Man United 1.08. This is definitely a sea of blue on the zonal, the draft alchemies graphics for the Man City. Is just wow. It's like the whole of their half is a safe area for Man City
So
from an expected threat conceded point of view.
it's interesting with Man City. This is usually the way it is when they play anybody because they have so much possession in the attacking half that they generate a lot of expected threat. And the other team barely possesses it all. There's not much build up into Manchester City's half. So it's always going to be blue, but that doesn't mean that there isn't attacking opportunity. What you'll typically see against Manchester City in terms of these maps is it'll be a dark blue for expected threat, but there will be like a lighter zone in XG difference. And that's the counterattack zone. So recently, it's been down Manchester, like against Chelsea, against Brentford. There's one more in there that I'm forgetting right now, but it was through Manchester City's central zone, the XG. This one against Manchester United, it lines up for the left. So the left in terms of XG, but again, that's a light shade of blue, so it's still relatively safe. It's just like maybe a glimmer of hope for Manchester United when you look at the XG map for Manchester City, like attacking United, the left and the central zones light up red there. So we're looking at, I don't know who's going to play on Manchester City's left. I have a feeling it'll probably be, I mean, it's going to be, I think, Wan-Bissaka playing there, so it'll probably be Grealish, kind of Grealish dribbling inside. But I have no idea. I don't know how to predict Manchester City's lineups. Have to check at Alex
So
MCFC
Grealish had a bit
that.
of, yes. So Grealish had an injury. So I think, yeah, as you say, like it's a
And he
recurrence of
played,
the same thing.
and he played in the cup,
And he got
right? Did
subbed,
he
yeah.
play?
So he got subbed off with the injury, and Doku came in, yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
so
that's
it'll
the
likely
thing.
be
Yeah, so
Doku.
that's what I'm thinking, yeah, because now that injury is just like the same groin injury, I think it's recurred. So it's probably not
Oh
going to be
wow!
anytime
So I
soon.
have
Yeah.
Doku.
Oh, so that could work out like a really maverick pick for you. So for me, I was looking
Interesting.
at
Okay.
originally De Bruyne to Son for this week, but after watching City in the Cup and his 4 assists for Haaland's 4 goals, it was just mental. So I just feel like I can't not have him after having had so many games he didn't play for me since I bought him. To pass out on this fixture, I'm like, you know what? Let me keep him for home United. He can move on next week potentially if I need to sell him in Gameweek 28 when he plays Liverpool, right? So I think I'm going to hold KDB. For you, Doku, I would keep as well.
So Wan-Bissaka's out.
Oh wow!
So maybe Lindelof on the left and Dallo on the right. Like what's happening? Does anybody know? Oscar Bob. I hate
So
you,
he could
Kieran.
sneak in and take your Doku
Kieran's
minutes as
bringing
well.
in the doubt. No, not Oscar Bob in the Manchester derby. No, can't do that.
Well, the data definitely prefers Man City, right? It's got the 1.83 net XG, as we said, to 1.08.
Yeah.
But when you look at the zonals, that left for Man City, speaking of whether Doku's going to play there or not, from a chance creation point of view, saying 5.7, which is maybe the best zonal of the week. And I guess we'll see when we get to the summary shortly, but it must be one of the top zonals for sure.
And Doku does create chances. They might not be very good ones, but you can see him creating chances for Holland in this one for sure. And Holland at home in a Manchester derby, I don't know. I think he's a solid captaincy shout. I'm torn captaincy to be honest, but I think he's obviously in consideration.
Yeah, so he's my
So
busting captain, but
he is.
you
Yeah.
got Jared's comment here for United.
Yeah, Jared says Lindelof. So Lindelof on the left and Dalot on the right. So if it is Dalot on the right, I mean Doku can smoke Dalot.
Stewie says Amrabat played left back in the FA Cup, so like all kinds of things could be happening.
I don't think he plays Amrabat at left back in the derby though.
Yeah, so BW Splitter makes up a good point, which is a lot of people have felt hesitant to captain Haaland when they think Doku's going to start. They feel that he takes away a lot of the kind of the chances that fall to Haaland, and he kind of soaks up the ball and dribbles and dribbles and dribbles, and just it's like he's just there, like running around on the wing with it, and it does feel like when De Bruyne came into the team in the cup, suddenly Haaland gets all these chances, and then like in all the games where De Bruyne didn't play with Haaland, he was far more limited. And like even when he got that brace for us, I think it was against Brentford, he hadn't had a shot before the 70th minute, and City only had 2 shots on target, and they won 2-0, and they were both Haaland goals. So it feels like when KDP was out, maybe it's more I think about that. And personally, I'm not sure I would attribute it all to Doku is the reason Haaland wasn't getting chance creation in those times. I'd like to think that with De Bruyne back in, and I can't see a universe where he wouldn't start the Manchester derby. So
No, De Bruyne starts for sure.
yeah, so surely even though he played the full 90 in the cup, and like that makes me have some doubts. I'm like, no, like surely he's being kept for this game as well, right? Like surely they planned this. But yeah, so I'm honestly, I feel like with KDB back, it's hard for me to not captain Haaland. And I have triple Spurs, I think, in this game.
I think the Doku
Not Spurs,
impact on
sorry,
Holland.
City.
City. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the Doku impact on Holland is more like a correlation rather than causation. I think one thing with Doku that Manchester City have been doing is he's an easy outlet. He stays so wide and he's always a threat. So they just ping the ball to him. But what they haven't been doing recently is supporting, having that like the player come and support him deep. So there's that threat whether he goes inside or outside. So the defender is just kind of playing the run, the dribble, and then Doku eventually just has to kind of like either pass straight back to the defender, or if he does make the run, then by the time he's crossing the ball, it's usually like a low cross into traffic where Holland wants to be running into space. So stylistically, they are a little bit in contrast. But I think just providing like with De Bruyne there, like you said, and De Bruyne being like a quick outlet for Doku at the top of the box, having that duality there on the left hand side really could help Doku. And I think that Doku, he's a young player who's the chances he creates, he's still, I think, learning how to create chances. He's not a chance creator historically. He's more, driving to goal historically. So he's doing a little bit of different things. But yeah, Holland, for Holland to really shine, you want De Bruyne in all like the attacking threat zones.
Yeah, no, that sounds spot on. So I've got Foden, De Bruyne, and Haaland, and even though I've got Saka and Sheffield United away, which I'm sure we'll come to as the last matchup after this for the Monday night, seems quite exciting too. I just can't look past Haaland with a fit KDP in a title challenge, and they're here at home at the Etihad. It's like, and the
So
way United have been, like, it just seems like it's very one-sided fixture. I'd love to think United can take points from them. I really hope
mhm.
so. And there's questions of, is Maguire back this weekend from FPL discomfort? I think I saw a tweet that he could be like the only player who's going to be back out of the long list of injuries, which Claire kindly mentions. So Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, Martinez, Mount, Marshall, Hoyland, Malacia. Like Maguire's in that list, but he might be the only injured player who could come back, I guess. And I hope Slabhead gets a goal and wins the game. But I will take the captaincy blank just to see that. I will take it all day.
Well, I mean, one thing Stewie brings up about KDB is, yeah, I mean, you can attack Manchester United in that central area where the defensive midfielders operate, right? And De Bruyne could feast on that area as well. And I actually wouldn't mind him as a captaincy shout as well in this one.
Yeah, that would be quite a fun pick. I feel like
Mhm.
is someone who I've not really captained much this season, and we've barely seen him yet, and he shows up ready to go in the tail end of the season for the Champions League and for the Premier League run-ins. He's a master, man, and there's talks of Saudi wanting him, but I just don't see that happening. So final matchup of the week, Sheffield United versus Arsenal. Arsenal 2.27 NetxG, Sheffield United 0.84. Sounds like I think Partey could be in the squad on the bench, and maybe Zinchenko. Tomiyasu is close, I guess, but maybe doesn't make this Monday. There's going to be a few more options for Arteta to make things unpredictable. I think as these players come back and Timber's training as well and slowly being reintegrated into the squad after obviously an ACL. So, I doubt we'll see him this month much. I think after we play Brentford, because now the Chelsea game and Gameweek 29 is a blank, we don't have a fixture between, like, I think it's like March 12th and then again when you go all the way to March 31st. So it's just like something nuts, like 20 days or 19 days we don't have a fixture, and there's an international break. So that does concern me a little bit. But with that in mind, you don't need to rush, say, Timber or Tomiyasu or Jesus back, because it's kind of like we've been playing just fine recently. We're in top goal scoring form in February, 25 goals since the winter break. So I think it's like 3 goals conceded, 25 goals scored. So it's nice to have these guys back for the run in. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is that once we get to 29 and beyond, there's going to be a lot more unpredictability, I think, in the 11 with all the options that will be available to Arteta. But I wouldn't fear when you see people saying they're coming into the squad and they're going to be back this week, because I think there's still a bit of time for everyone to come back. There's not many matches in March. There's no rush. You keep them fit for April. You just give them like a friendly kickabout behind closed doors in March or something, like play with the under 23s a bit. There's no rush. It's an ACL, right? Like you know the recurrence of that injury is it can be so much bigger in general if you rush back from the original injury. It just continues happening again and again. So yeah, we don't want to increase that risk of re-injury. So yeah, I've got Saka, I've got Gabriel. I can't get a third player unless I free hit. I was considering Martin Odegaard last week. Kai Havertz is a punt I've thought about at the moment, but that was mainly due to the unpredictability of whether he plays striker or left centre mid, and like he's going to get into the team. I thought most games, so he seems to be scoring a lot more goals at the moment. He seems confident again. It seems like it's a good time to have him. This kind of game, I feel like he could be a dark horse. Obviously, he hauled recently, but again, it feels very much like a punt. I feel like Odegaard's the solid pick if you can afford the difference. But something about Kai Havertz screams out to me, and maybe I'll be proven wrong when he goes on to score only one more goal for the rest of the season.
I don't think so. Look how the left for XT and XG lights up more than the other sides in this. So I see kind of like the right and the central areas creating for the left. And Kai Havertz, it's and Trossard, like we've said, that it's not that they line up either or. They are playing both those positions. They are the left-sided 8 and they are the 9. And throughout the game, it'll just be dynamic movement, and that's brought a lot of success. And it's really lit up from a stats point of view. It's lit up Arsenal's left side, which for the first, whatever 15, 20 games of the season was completely dormant, right? So I think Havertz shines in this one, just operating again between the lines and taking advantage of that left-hand side. Sheffield United, their right has been particularly vulnerable all season. So I also like Martinelli in this one. And anyone, I think Havertz is such a sneaky play.
I just feel like it's like a sneak. Let's say I know I'm definitely going to free hit in 29, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just get him while we're waiting for Partey to come back into the team and all this. Like Trossard seems to have a bit of a knock. Like he's going to get at least this game and maybe the next one. Just get him while Arsenal are hot and while he's hot before they have a 20-day break and then face Man City. It's like that break is coming. So it's like these next 2 weeks, do I just attack them and then free hit and then figure it out later?
If you have access to like a weekly game or something like that, if there was a weekly game, Havertz would be in my side.
So I would want Havertz, Saka, Gabriel. That would be my free for the week if I was picking Arsenal just for this week. Yeah.
And if you're looking as far as like planning and you're not sure like which direction you can go, like in your case, Nima, I mean an Arsenal defender is just obvious.
Yeah. The second Arsenal defender, when I've got Lamptey, Taylor, and Estupinian thinking out my team, like they need to be 2 of my 3 right now. Imagine that. Well, Gabriel plus 2 of those 4 idiots. So
grab. And well, it's a double benefit, right? You get rid of one of a useless asset, your 9 million Brighton defender, and you bring in an Arsenal defender against Sheffield United. It's a no-brainer, right?
Definitely spot on.
Whatever hit.
Let's go to the summary, and then I'm sure we'll talk about Arsenal players when we talk about people's Q&A as well. But just before that, I'm going to put the summary up on the screen. This is at 1 hour 13 if you're listening on podcast. It will give you the top NetxG for the week. So just quickly reading out the top 3 for the week. We have 2.41 NetxG for Spurs home to Palace. We have Arsenal away at Sheffield United with 2.27. And there's a bit of a drop off actually. There's 3 teams tied after that in third with 1.83. So that's Man City, Everton, and Chelsea. All 3 of those teams have 1.83 NetxG. Those are the top teams of the week. So I'm just seeing what else I've got here before I accidentally click through to any random content. So we're going to focus more on the Q&A for the rest of the show. There's some questions in the Discord I'll pull up in a second. I've starred 15 questions in the live chat from today's show as well. Do start getting your questions in as we get to them in a moment. Before that, I just wanted to give some news to everyone and share some more information as well. So obviously you guys probably have noticed, and I know Chris has been talking about it on Twitter, that he's not really been around for a while, FPL Mariner. He was still sending us all the captaincy metric and working hard on the data, but we don't want him to be stressing about that kind of stuff at the moment. So if you've not seen, our thoughts are with him and his son Kieran. He was diagnosed with lymphoma recently and he's going through treatment for the cancer. And, we really hope he continues to stay strong, and all our thoughts and love and all the haulers' energy are with Chris and his son Kieran. So I just wanted to say that we're not going to have, if a foreseeable future, the captaincy metric or some of the FDR data. We don't want Chris to have to be stressing about that in life when there's so much more going on than FPL. We will continue to obviously use the NetxG. And what I might do, and let me know what you guys think in the feedback, is maybe pull up like the top 5 or top 10 predicted points from multiple websites or members areas and put them like just on one slide when we talk about captaincy for each week for the rest of the season. So we can look at like what are the top 5 projected scorers in any given week across maybe 3, 4, 5 different platforms. And that could be quite a nice thing to do, I think. But yeah, if you didn't know, there's also Chris has sent a link out on his Twitter at FPL Mariner, where it's a link to donate to the Cancer Society as well. So if you want to, support the cause and help people who are suffering like Chris and Chris's family, then I think that'll be much appreciated. I will put a link in the description of the video and the podcast. But yeah, just our thoughts are with you, Chris, and with Kieran, and we hope you can be strong and get through this, and can continue being there and knowing we've all got your backs and we all love you. So no captaincy metric on that sad note. But what we will do instead is we'll do a quick mini league update for the All or Nothing mini league for the YouTube members and the Patreons. We'll shout out all the members, and then we'll just do Q&A. So we'll use the rest of the show to answer your specific questions and let me know what you think about the captaincy substitute idea, because maybe that's something I can bring into the show from the next one onwards. So All or Nothing mini league, last week, the top 3 for the week was actually our very own FPL Rubber Ducky, Peter Ovington. He got 75 points last week. We have the Zod squad, Ken Davies with 74 points. We have Antonis with the Destroyers on 71 points on Wildcard 2. So I was the top 3 scorers last week. Overall in the top of the league now, so I've dropped down. I see FPL Planner's overtaken me. So from the bottom up, in 10th, we have Mike Evans. In 9th, we have Dominic Benjamin. In 8th, we have Neil Shah. In 7th, we have Ken Davies. In 6th, we have Elron Cupboard. In 5th, we have myself. In 4th, we have FPL Planner. In 3rd, we have Jonathan Cohen. In 2nd, we have Connor Hunt. And in 1st, we have Gary Horwood. So leading with 1688 total points. 2nd is on 1647 and 3rd is on 1612. So big gaps between the top 3 and everyone else. Keep smashing it, guys. Keep fighting till the end of the season. And hopefully I can overtake 1 or 2 more of you before the season's over. That's something I would love to do. Moving on to thanking all the haulers. So obviously, thank you everyone who's a member of the channel. This is the first time in the episode 1 hour 17 in that I'm going to say, if you've enjoyed the episode, if you found it entertaining or learned anything or just had fun, please do hit that like button, subscribe if you're new around here so you can see the new episodes going forwards. But otherwise, just a quick thank you to all the haulers. So our super haulers, we have FPL Robbie, we have Greenback Golf, we have Harbour Boy, David Harrison, FPL Discomfort, and True Fandela. And then our haulers, we have Dread FPL, FPL Craig, Podner, Blonde, Escott M, Tom Gorsuch, Davinja Raj, Lindsay O, C Hunt, Akshay, FPL DG Boy, Claire, Catherine A, Harry Not Kane, Benjamin Lockwood, Nick Khan, FPL Rubber Ducky, Big Mike, General Zod, FPL Planner, Brett M, Mark Bond, Kevin Rose, FPL Eric, FPL Teacher, Donny FPL, Grady, Sebastian Koo, Neil, Parag, BW Splitter, Jasper Singh, and Tusks. And then our Patreons, Elron, Lucian Gann, FPL California, Daddy Bot, Mike Burke, Dr. Green Thumb Gunk, and Michael Rodriguez. So thank you all for all of your support for the channel. We really appreciate you. We're going to go into Q&A now for the rest of the episode. So I'm just going to timestamp this so that anyone who had questions earlier in the show knows where to come to and find it. So this is 1 hour 18. And let's pull the first question up. Hopefully I can remember the context because the question was from a while ago. So we have General Zod. They have 2 Spurs, 3 Villa. So that's already 5 players for Gameweek 29. And dead ending into 29. Wildcard 31, free hit 34. So yeah, so I think thanks for sharing. We were asking at the beginning of the episode what your plans were. That was kind of my original plan, but I'm not sure if I can do that anymore with only 3 players at the moment playing in that week. So I have to think about it. But I think you're in a good position there, bro. So I think I would stick with your plan. It looks very good. Devonshire Hill Lad asks, where are they going to stick Chelsea versus Spurs game in 34? So I think the Chelsea double could be in 35 or 36. It might not sit in the 2 main ones. FPL Matty, hi lads, ladies, hi Lloyds. Hope you're both well. Would you do best? Would you do Jota? Yeah, Jota the Slaughter. That's the one. To Richarlison and Maguire to Udogi if you're not free hitting in 29. So how do you feel about getting in like 2 Spurs players, knowing you're not going to free hit in 29? They have this great fixture this week, Udogie and Richarlison, obviously if Richarlison's fit, that is, and you get rid of Maguire, you get rid of Jota. Seems like a
Yeah,
no-brainer to me. What do you think?
you
Yeah.
should. I mean, if you can get to Son, obviously get to Son. If you can't get
Yeah.
to Son, maybe Madison.
I was going to say, especially with the Richarlison doubt, and I think going forward, I do like the Madison shout that you've said longer term. I think I prefer that.
Mm-hmm.
Good shout. So we'll keep going through some of these Q&A. Do get your questions in, guys. So these ones are from Clint. So Clint asks, wildcarding this week, I'm okay to play 7 players and keep the good players still. So midfield is Saka, Foden, Son, one of Bailey or Louise, and don't know what to do with that 5th midfield spot. So I think if you were happy to have someone who doesn't play in 29 and hold long term, I would be squeezing in Palmer as that 5th pick. One of Palmer or Gordon, I'd be trying to squeeze them in. And just, if you don't care about having 11 players in 29, you're free hitting this week, I would probably be looking to get a Chelsea or Newcastle player that you can play for their fixtures either side of 29 if you don't mind not having 11 players. Is there any other 5th midfielders you could shout out?
No, I think I agree with you there. If you are attacking doubles and maybe Barkley, but I wouldn't go there. The one thing I would consider is is Foden a good pick on a wild card right now?
Because I would be potentially, apart from the Man United game this week, I'd be looking to maybe not have him in either of 28 or 30 if possible. And then he blanks in 29, right? So,
I mean,
yeah.
Liverpool away in 28, blank in 29, Arsenal in 30. If you're on wild card, maybe you go and you are looking for some, a different kind of player there. I still like the Gordon Palmer combination.
Mhm.
And you can rotate them. So like that's probably the direction I would go, or find a way to maybe have some money in the bank. Maybe look at Salah if it looks like Salah's going to be fit, and get in on Salah early, maybe.
Yeah. So Salah's the one I really want. And I think if I had a wild card and you knew he was fit, I would just do it
Yeah.
because he's more exciting to keep on your bench than a Palmer or Gordon in 29. And I think he's a genuine captaincy option this week if you knew he starts.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think we'll keep going with the questions. FPL Matty wins a lot asked, would you bring Tottenham assets in this game week and who? So I think for me, it's just Son. And if it's not him, then I'm not buying one of them this week. If I don't free hit in 29, I'll probably want to buy one of the defenders and Madison. But I feel like Son's my number one pick that I would want this week, personally. I don't know if you feel differently.
No, I agree. I agree.
Cool. I'm just having a quick look at this one as well. Clint says, torn between keeping double Arsenal or saving money so I can upgrade Solanke to Tony in 29. So I guess if you didn't have the second Arsenal defender, could you have like a defender that doubles in 28 instead of that second Arsenal defender, maybe? And then that saving between like a Saliba and a cheaper mid who might be, cheaper defender who might be 1 million less. Maybe that 1 million is what you need for Solanke to Tony. I don't know. So I think I'd be happy to avoid that double Arsenal defense if it gets you that upgrade
Not
in
this game
29.
week. Not this game week.
It could hurt this
You
game
keep
week, yeah. I think they're on a wild card though, right?
you keep double Arsenal this game
On
week.
the wild card though, right? What, and then move them on when that player you're selling to double. Oh, I see. Yeah. So I guess if you don't need Tony anyway till the future
Right.
week, till after Solanke plays, then in 28 free up the money for Tony. Then, yeah. I think you make a good point. Yeah, let's stick to keep the double Arsenal defense. If you have to sell to make the money for the 2 weeks time, but I think for this fixture and for the next fixture, it seems quite good. So we have, what else do we have here? We have Quome asking, is it worth buying any defenders for game week 29? There doesn't seem to be any upside. I can see every team conceding in that game week, and they will be probably all bought in for a -4 or -8. What are you thinking about that? I'll put the fixtures up on the screen as well to help us for now. So the fixtures that week, just as a reminder for the defenders you could be buying, I suppose, are Villa defenders against West Ham, Brentford defenders against Burnley, obviously Burnley defenders against Brentford, Fulham defenders against Tottenham, Tottenham defenders against Fulham, and then Luton defenders against Forest, Forest defenders against Luton. It doesn't look great. I think that's a
I
tough
think you
week.
just so Burnley are among the worst teams for XG conceded from set pieces.
Okay.
So I think a Brentford defender or maybe even two is
Could be quite nice.
exciting.
Okay.
I think Reguilon with the set pieces and his attacking threat, and then maybe one of the guys that gets headers like Ben Mee or something like that. I think either one of those would be good picks. If I were free hitting in 29, I'd have those two, like two of those and Tony.
And Tony, yeah, like 2 defensive assets
Yeah.
and Tony. So it could be like the goalkeeper, like Flecken, and a defender. It could be 2 defenders. I think another interesting shout that week, but maybe not so much because I think they too concede for fun, is you could try differentiate with Tottenham by going double defense on a free hit with 1 attacker instead of 2 attackers and a defender. So,
Oof.
but I don't know if I trust them to keep any kind of clean sheet, which is a bit
It's also a
nerve
lot of
wracking.
money. It's like
Yeah,
it'd be 10.5 million versus like two double Brentford defense. I think would cost you about 9
yeah,
or
that's true.
9.5.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, they cost a lot more than buying like a regular for 4.5 million.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that's
Reguilon
true.
is still 4.4, and then you can get what? Pinnock is also 4.5 or
Yeah, they're all
something like
really
that.
cheap, right?
So yeah.
What else do we have here? We have just having a look at Tricky MF has a question about thinking of taking out Foden and maybe even Haaland in game week 28 ahead of a potential wild card in 30-31, and we'll be saving to potentially do free hit 38. So yeah, I think if you can wild card your City players back in after the blank, I don't have major issues about selling them in 28. I'd want them for Man United this week, but I have no problem turning them next week if you can easily get them back with the wild card. Free hit 38. I know a lot of people have done that. I think
It's always
the
fun.
FPL Discomfort did it. It's great on the last day, 10 games at once. It can be a bit of
Yeah.
fun. But in terms of the last question, what do you think about, is there any teams on the beach yet? Is there any team you've seen that looks like they could be arriving at the beach soon? I worry that Bournemouth is actually one of those teams that they could pretty much be looking very safe soon and not having to worry too much about much else. I'm just looking at the table now.
I don't think the beach is like a concept in
Mm.
Spain. I don't know if Iraola knows about the beach. They just they have the briefcases in Spain. At the end of the season, there's like delivery of like cash and briefcases for
What
teams to
about
like.
Fulham then? What about Fulham then? They're a bit. They
Fulham.
got 4 points more than Bournemouth. Bournemouth are on 28, 8 points above the drop. Fulham are on 32, 12 points above the drop. You'd think another win or another couple wins for Fulham, and they're probably done. Like they're there, right? So
Yeah, but Fulham aren't relevant. With all due
but by game
respect.
week 29, I mean, like if by the time they play Tottenham, they've already secured some of those wins. I wonder if that Tottenham game would get quite nasty for them if they're like
Maybe.
about to go on international break, or they're just like turning off mentally because they're like, we're on the beach. That would be pretty
But yeah,
bad.
I don't
Mid-March,
think anyone's on the beach. I don't think anyone's on the beach just yet.
it's too
And
early,
there aren't
isn't it?
really many candidates because you have like everyone from like Man United down to even down all the way down to 11th Chelsea. Chelsea's playing for pride. They're not gonna stop playing because their ego has been hurt. And Newcastle, Wolves, West Ham, they're all kind of fighting for something there. And then on the bottom end, they are as well. Below Bournemouth, Everton, Brentford, Forest. Brentford could get
Forest could be hit with a points deduction. Everton could be hit with another points deduction. Oh, it's all looking crazy down there.
yeah.
Luton are fighting for their lives. Like, I think it's going to be an interesting, exciting end to the season. I do hope there's very few teams in that kind of middle stage where they're not threatened by relegation, they can't get a European spot, and then they kind of just coast. I don't think we're going to see anything like that till maybe game week 35 onwards. I think it'll be much later in the season when we see
Yeah.
like the concept of a beach starting to look real. So Combe asks, I'm looking at either De Bruyne or Saka captaincy this game week. What are you thinking about that one?
Saka's
I'm biased.
safer
I would
and
go Saka, yeah.
Saka's safer and De Bruyne is a fun shout.
It is a very fun shout. I'm actually just having a quick look at the predicted points for the game week. in Fantasy Football Hub. I'm just having a very quick look. Points prediction, right? So just for game week 27. Okay, so the predicted points are Haaland 8.7, Son 6.9, Tony 6.3, Saka 6, Salah 5.7. The predicted minutes for De Bruyne must be quite low because he is like below everyone. I think maybe let me have a look at if I just search for his name. What's his predicted points? He is predicted 3.6 points. They're not liking his minutes for this game week. Yeah, he's someone who I wouldn't be too worried about the model if you think he's fit. But if you're the type of person who's thinking he just played 90 minutes midweek and Saka's been rested for 8 days, then yeah, I'd go Saka on the Monday night, rested for 8 days. Yeah, I think something about De Bruyne just scares me. And it's not because of his predicted points. It's because purely I've had him and I've been burnt for weeks. I'm happy to own him and start him this week, but I'm going to put off selling him till next week now. Yeah, so yeah, I would go Saka in that. Stewie's question, irrespective of chip strategy, are Bowen and Tony among the best 7 attackers in the game? It's tough. Like, I can't be saying Bowen is one of the best attackers in the game after like blanking for 7 weeks or something straight just because of one like big game. I just can't. Like, I think because he plays in 29, he's great right now. But I wasn't liking the look of West Ham before. Maybe with Paqueta back, I'm wrong and they really kind of push on. But do you feel that is enough of a difference now for them, like with Paqueta? And will that mean that Bowen's a bit better now? Because that run coincided with him not being there, right?
Yeah, he might be better. I don't think he's one of the best 7 attackers in the game though, precisely because of the inconsistency you're going to get there. So I prefer Tony. I think Tony will be more consistent.
Yeah, I think out of those two, I'd put Tony in that. If I was going to pick a 7, I'd pick him.
I think Tony is among the best 7.
Definitely. There's a good point from BW Splitter. It sounds like me might be out for the rest of the season. Gosh, Matty makes a good point. I don't think money will matter in Game Week 29. All the big assets are out. So I think, yeah, like I guess if you're on a free hit, you could still go double Spurs defense when we're talking earlier, because on a free hit specifically, I guess you literally won't have like a premium. Like your most expensive player will be Son, and then like everyone else is like under 8 million. If not, there's gonna be no one expensive in your free hit team.
Yeah, so like 43 million in the bank.
Yeah, exactly. Some wild draft. Combe says about Fulham, I mean, do you think Marco would let them get away with playing beach football? No team, Iriola, Marco, no one wants to be letting their players get away with beach football. Let's ask Ben.
Maybe the manager goes on the beach as well. Marco looks stressed out all the time.
If
so
the manager
wants
goes
to go on the beach,
then he's leading by example, right? So we've got to see how the managers do. What else do we have? So Combs going for KDB. Yeah, go for it, buddy. I don't want to put you off that. If he hauled, I always say this, right? What would you regret most? So when I'm making benching decisions or captaincy, it's like if I bench someone and they haul. So this is why, like, generally I try to start a Stupinian over Lamptey. Is if I bench Lamptey and he returns, and I started a Stupinian, I'm like, fine, I'll live with it. 4, 5, 6 points, whatever. But if I started Lamptey and a Stupinian hauled on my bench, I would be livid. You know, like I would go fucking crazy. So it's like, so with my captaincy, it's similar. Like if you know that you want to captain KDB so badly that if you don't and then he hauls, that's going to ruin your game week or piss you off and ruin your day, I will captain him regardless of the outcome. Because for me, it's like, I just want to know that when the result happens, that I made the decision based on what would have pissed me off least if it went against me. Yeah. So like I always prepare for the worst and make sure it's the one that I'm most happy to accept if it goes at its worst. So yeah, go for KDB in that case. Clint says, do you still recommend bringing in Solanke on a wild card with the injury and then benching him this week? Thinking of a Douglas Luiz and Bailey combo. Funnily enough, I had both Gordon and Palmer in my pre-wild card team. Yep. Okay, so this was for the 5th mid, right? So yeah, it's tough. I guess
I wouldn't bring in Solanke, an injured Solanke.
Not on a wild card. I think I'd buy him next week with a transfer if you're sure he starts. But even then, maybe you wait for some comprehensive news and pray you get definitive info that says he's out, and then just forget him. Like, just don't even need him for the double game. Because if you buy him and he doesn't play the double, that you're going to be like a one transfer back and having wild carded. It's going to really hurt. I don't think you'll enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So what else do we have? PW Splitter understood me very well. summarized and very concisely said what I tried to explain. Emotional points over FPL points. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, so I think that's all the questions. There's one or two from Discord. I'm just going to quickly read out as well before we get out of here and let everyone go and enjoy their Thursday evening. So the first one is from BW Splitter. So they'd like to do a post-mortem to critique and improve their decision-making. They want to know what you think of their choice to play Areola over Edison. Edison's 9-pointer really obviously annoyed him. West Ham hasn't played yet, but this is irrelevant to my analysis. Basically, he wants to know, like, both teams had a similar clean sheet percentage. He decided based on Edison rarely gets saves or bonus points. And he thought, so what do you do in that situation? If clean sheets are both very close, do you go for the guy with more routes to points for save points, or do you simply pick the player from the better team? That's what he wants to know. Because he went for the guy with more points, that more routes to points through saves. But now he's thinking, damn, like, this was Man City. Maybe I should just play the player from the better team. He's saying, I just don't know how to judge form with goalkeepers. So yeah, do you think there's a way to judge form with goalkeepers? And secondly, if it's a tight call on clean sheet odds, are you picking like an Edison every time? Because I know I would. Like I would play Edison every week.
I think it depends if the cheaper goalkeeper is if he's not great, then you play the goalkeeper on the better team, because more shots, more potential for saves means he's going to face more shots, which if they're not a good goalkeeper, they're not going to get those saves, or they will be irrelevant because they'll concede a higher percentage of those shots, right? So I think the key is since it was Areola, yeah, I think you made the wrong decision there. You go for the better one. But if it's like Leno, for example, who's been a proven good shot stopper, then in that case you would go for the Leno. So
yeah,
it better be a good goalkeeper to account for the added shots.
And West Ham had felt like they were really struggling of late, I guess what you could say. Yeah. So yeah, I think I would always go for the more expensive player. Like I would question why I owned Edison if I didn't start him. So it doesn't mean like, based regardless of outcome, even if he'd blanked, that's just the way I would play. So it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. That's just back to the whole emotional points thing. I can't handle if I'm looking at like a 9 million midfielder bench and he hauls. I'd rather bench a 5 million and he hauls. I just something about pricing bias I'm stuck with and I can't get past it. So it doesn't mean that's the correct way to play though. So Sebastian Koo asks, any defender recommendations to buy this week? I've decided to free hit in game week 29. So they don't need to get a defender that plays in 29. So we can actually pick anyone who has a good 27, 28, or 30 on this graphic. They already have Saliba, Doughty, and Dallo. So if you were Saliba, Doughty, and Dallo, I hate to say it, but it feels like Gabriel would be my guy from Arsenal. I feel like he's still got
Arsenal
another maybe
defense.
2 good. Yeah, like you've only got Saliba. We've been scoring more from set pieces than any other team this season, and Gabriel's like his threat from set pieces is disgusting. Like I think since he arrived in the league, no player in Europe who's a centre back has scored more than him. I think it's like 14 league goals. It's just he's relentless, and despite them knowing he's good at it, he still scores them. So it's like even last week there was an own goal that, like, when I was in the stadium, I thought he scored. It's like he's just always in the center of every single bloody set piece from Arsenal into the box.
Yeah.
So I would get him, honestly, if you can. Yeah, I think that would be my pick. They want to sell one of Gahey, who's injured, or Estupinian. I think Lamberty was flagged, and because of that, we might see Estupinian this week play that left wing back role, which would be quite nice if he did, I think. So I'd keep an eye on that. It seems for me better to sell Gahey this week, but if he's fit and you're, like, that's just, I guess you're free hitting in 29 anyway. Yeah, so you don't need to worry about that. Yeah. Fine, okay. So Claire asks, this week, would you start the nailed on Ross Barkley versus Aston Villa, or the rotation risk Trossard versus Sheffield United? That is a very tough question. So I'm looking at our team. Yeah, there's no one else in that front 8 that you can bench. I think it is Barkley or Trossard. I would look out for Arteta's presser tomorrow because it seemed like Trossard had a knock. I would check if he's been in training. If you don't see him in training photos, I would be hesitant. If you do, then I would go, I would start Trossard. if you see him. I think Barkley you can bench. That's fine. Any other final questions here that I've missed?
Splitter said we answered his KDB question, so
fine. Okay, yeah, because I was just reading about the KDB question, but it's fine. I'll skip that.
Said...
That's okay. So final question from Jared is Solanke out for Watkins? I think you'd have to know Solanke's ruled out.
Yeah.
With the double coming, I can't do it unless you're sure he's out. Because even if he's just out for the one game, it's like, what do you do? Like, if he then doubles and he's back for 28, you're gonna feel, why did I sell him? You're gonna kick yourself. So you need proper info that says that he is ruled out for a month. Like, I think that's what it would take for me to sell him. I own him. Maybe I'm fortunate because I already have Watkins, but I own Solanke, and right now they're like the only thing I just can't see myself selling him. Like, I would bench him and sell Huang first. So I don't know if there's any other problems in your team, Jared, but I feel like I could find someone else to sell first while I figure out the prognosis on him. And if he's still then not ready for 28, then maybe that's when I sell him to like a Luton forward. So get Morris if Solanke isn't fit. He then plays in 29 if I'm not going to free it. So there's loads of things like that. But yeah, let's get out of here, Gabe. 1 hour, 40 minutes in. We've got about 23 minutes of questions. So that's not bad. I'm glad we did the Q&A for longer this week. Let us know how you all enjoyed the show and what you think about the predicted points idea going forwards for the rest of the season in spite of the captaincy metric. Again, our wishes and thoughts go to obviously Chris and to Kieran. And I think, as I mentioned, like I've already made a donation to cancer research. And I think what we're planning to do as well, Gabe and I were discussing this before backstage, like we'd like to put any proceeds from Net That Haul towards Kieran as well, Kieran's treatment. So, you know, we're all there with you, buddy. And anything from the channel is going to go that way. So all the memberships, all the ad money, all your support, we will be pushing straight back towards Chris and his son, Kieran. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in live. Lovely to see you guys. And honestly, you guys in the live chat make this all worth it. And it's so much fun interacting with you guys each week. But we'll see you for Gameweek 28 next week. And may your arrows be green. See you soon, guys. Take care.
Peace.